The 90-minute rule, focus like a laser. It's 8 a.m. Jacob, a 32-year-old freelance designer, makes a cup of coffee and sits down at his desk. But instead of checking emails or scrolling social media, he does something weird. He sets a timer for 90 minutes and jumps straight into his most mentally demanding task. No distractions allowed. Why? Because our brains naturally function in 90-minute cycles called ultradian rhythms. During these cycles, your brain hits peak alertness, creativity, and focus. Top performers, chess grandmasters, Olympic athletes, even elite students swear by this rhythm. Instead of grinding for 6 hours straight and feeling fried, Jacob works in 90-minute chunks followed by a 15-minute break. The result? He gets more done by noon than he used to in an entire day. And his brain? It feels like it's firing on all cylinders. The morning walk, a brain bath in motion. After his first 90-minute session, Jacob heads outside. No headphones, just a 20-minute walk. Here's the science. When you walk, especially in nature, your brain goes into what's called default mode network, a kind of idle brain state where creative thinking thrives. It's the same network that lights up when you're daydreaming or brainstorming ideas. But there's more. Walking increases blood flow to the brain, reduces stress hormones, and even boosts the size of your hippocampus, the memory center of your brain. In other words, a short walk is like giving your brain a full-body massage. Think walking is lazy. Steve Jobs held walking meetings. Beethoven walked daily to spark ideas. Turns out, movement is intelligence in motion. Brain food. Fuel isn't what you think. At noon, Jacob eats. But it's not a giant, greasy meal that leaves him sluggish. He sticks to foods that support neurotransmitters, the chemicals your brain uses to think clearly and feel good. His go-to? Salmon, rich in omega-3s, a side of blueberries, loaded with antioxidants, and a bit of dark chocolate for dessert. Yup, chocolate boosts blood flow to your brain. But more than what he eats, it's how he eats. No screens, no scrolling, just mindful eating. Because multitasking while eating hijacks digestion, spikes cortisol, and makes you forget you even ate. By respecting his meals, Jacob gives his brain the nutrients and presence it needs to reset for the second half of the day. Digital fast, taming the dopamine demon. Around 3 p.m., Jacob does something most people avoid. He disconnects. No phone, no social media, no notifications. See, every ping, buzz, or like gives your brain a little hit of dopamine. It feels good, at first, but too much dopamine too often creates a vicious cycle. Less focus, more cravings, and a brain that's constantly hunting for its next hit instead of settling into deep thought. By creating tech-free zones, Jacob is rewiring his brain to enjoy stillness. That stillness is where deep thinking, problem-solving, and long-term memory are built. It's like turning down the noise so you can finally hear the music. The curiosity hour, feeding the inner child. Around 5 p.m., instead of crashing on the couch with Netflix, Jacob reads. Not self-help, not productivity hacks, just something he's genuinely curious about. Why? Because curiosity triggers the brain's reward system. It lights up the same areas that respond to chocolate and money. And the craziest part? When you're curious, your brain remembers better. Even unrelated information you learn at the same time. Whether it's a documentary, a podcast, or a weird Wikipedia rabbit hole, curiosity is mental cardio. It's how your brain stretches, learns, and stays young. You don't stop learning because you get old. You get old because you stop learning. The cold shower. At 6:30 p.m., Jacob hops in the shower, but not a warm one, a cold one. Wait, cold showers? Yeah, they suck. But here's why Jacob does it. Because short bursts of cold exposure do something wild to your brain. They activate norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that increases alertness, attention, and mood. It's nature's Adderall with zero side effects. Plus, cold showers trigger resilience. They train your brain to handle discomfort, which translates into better emotional control in daily life. Uncomfortable? Sure. But the feeling afterward? Like a lightning bolt hit his brain in the best way possible. The sleep defense, where real growth happens. By 10 p.m., Jacob is winding down. No screens, no scrolling. Just a book, dim lights, and maybe a little journaling. Sleep isn't just rest, it's neurogenesis. While you sleep, your brain clears out toxins, consolidates memories, and builds new neural connections. Skip good sleep, and all the brain power you built during the day starts to erode. Jacob aims for 7 to 9 hours, and he treats it like sacred time. Because the most powerful habit for boosting brain power is also the simplest one we often ignore. Your brain literally grows while you sleep. Miss it, and you miss the upgrade. Light movement. Movement that doesn't break you. It's 7 p.m., and Jacob isn't hitting the gym like a madman. Instead, he's stretching, doing light yoga, or taking a slow bike ride while listening to jazz. No grunting, no PRs. Why? Because light exercise boosts BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which acts like Miracle-Gro for your brain cells. It's not just about moving your body, it's about gently stirring the brain's chemicals that promote neuroplasticity, creativity, and mood. People think only intense workouts matter, but ironically, slow, intentional movement often supercharges the brain without draining the body. It clears mental fog, lowers cortisol, and gets the mind ready for reflection or learning. Jacob's not chasing abs, he's chasing mental clarity, and this habit delivers it in spades. The One Problem Journal. Before bed, Jacob opens his journal, but instead of dumping his feelings or writing random thoughts, he writes about one single unsolved problem from his day. No solution, just the problem. It might be a creative block, a business decision, or a life dilemma. He outlines it, reframes it, and then closes the journal. This primes the brain for a fascinating phenomenon: sleep processing. The brain keeps working on unresolved questions while you sleep, often delivering aha moments in the shower the next day. This nightly habit wires Jacob's brain to look for solutions instead of stress. Over time, it builds strategic thinking, emotional detachment, and, strangely, confidence. Because solving problems becomes a muscle, not a panic response. Vision reminder. Dopamine with direction. Every morning, Jacob glances at something taped above his desk. A note with one sentence. His long-term goal. Not a task, not a to-do list. A vision. Why? Because your brain needs a North Star. Without it, the dopamine system goes haywire, chasing short-term wins, scrolling endlessly, and rewarding instant gratification over meaningful progress. This habit isn't about motivation. It's about wiring the reward system to crave delayed gratification. By tying his daily efforts to a future goal, Jacob's brain starts treating effort like a win. It actually begins enjoying the process. And when your brain loves the grind, you become unstoppable. The mental load dump. Clearing RAM before bed. It's 9:30 p.m. Jacob's about to wind down, but first, he grabs a blank notepad and scribbles down every single thing on his mind. Big or small. Groceries, worries, project ideas, that thing he forgot to email. He dumps it all, messy, fast, and unfiltered. Why? Because your brain isn't designed to store tasks. It's designed to solve them. Keeping to-dos in your head burns mental energy and creates background anxiety. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency of the brain to stay alert to unfinished business. By doing a mental unload, Jacob tricks his brain into feeling like the loop is closed. The result? Deeper sleep, lower stress, and a fresh mental slate for tomorrow. Curiosity burst. Mind expansion on a timer. Before diving into focused work in the afternoon, Jacob sets a 5-minute timer and explores one random question he doesn't know the answer to. Why do cats purr? What's the origin of money? How does memory actually work? Just 5 minutes. No pressure to become an expert. This habit keeps his brain in a constant state of learning agility. It's not just about knowledge. It's about mental range. Like stretching before a workout, it preps the mind for cognitive flexibility, divergent thinking, and novelty. Plus, it reminds him of something crucial. Intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about staying interested. Silent mornings. Cognitive warm-up in silence. On certain days, Jacob starts his morning in complete silence. No talking, no responding to texts, no calls. Why? Because silence isn't emptiness, it's preparation. The early hours are when the prefrontal cortex, the logic and reasoning center, starts booting up. Silence gives it space to come online without distraction. Monks do it. CEOs do it. Even Nikola Tesla swore by silent mornings to spark mental clarity. In silence, Jacob doesn't feel empty. He feels sharp. By 9 a.m., he's already mentally ahead of the world. The teach-back trick, turning memory into mastery. Every evening, Jacob picks one thing he learned that day and explains it out loud, as if he's teaching it to a child. Why? Because teaching forces the brain to organize, simplify, and internalize. It's called the Feynman technique, and it's one of the most powerful tools for actual retention. Reading something isn't learning, but when you explain it in your own words, that's when the brain says, "Oh, I get this now." It only takes 5 minutes, but this habit turns information into intuition. Daily win. Wiring your brain for progress. Right before sleep, Jacob asks himself, what's one thing I did today that moved me forward? Not, what did I finish? Not, did I do everything I planned? Just, what moved me forward, even a little? This tiny shift rewires the brain to focus on progress, not perfection. And it matters, because most people go to bed replaying what went wrong. Jacob goes to bed in a mental state of momentum. Over time, his brain associates effort with reward. The result? Motivation that self-generates, even on the hard days. The Iron Mindset Workout. Building grit through strength. Twice a week, Jacob walks into his apartment complex gym, not to become a bodybuilder, but to challenge his willpower. He does a short, focused strength training session. Dumbbells, body weight, compound movements. It's not glamorous, and no one's filming it. But he's training something deeper than muscle. Mental discipline. Pushing through resistance, quite literally, teaches his brain how to persist. It increases testosterone, sharpens focus, and releases brain-repairing chemicals like IGF-1. His thinking becomes clearer. His posture improves. His confidence rises, even when he's still sweating. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about teaching his brain that discomfort equals growth. And the beauty of it? You can carry it with you, mentally, long after the weights hit the floor. Meditation, where thoughts go to be quiet. Each morning before touching his phone, Jacob sits cross-legged on the floor, closes his eyes, and breathes. That's it. No mantras, no apps, just silence, breath, and attention. This is his daily 10-minute meditation. He doesn't aim for enlightenment. He's just watching thoughts float by like leaves on a stream. Meditation isn't about clearing the mind. It's about watching the mind without reacting. That pause, between stimulus and response, that is where brain power lives. Studies show meditation physically grows the prefrontal cortex and shrinks the amygdala, making you calmer, more focused, and less impulsive. For Jacob, meditation is less of a habit and more like mental hygiene. Just as brushing your teeth cleans your mouth, this clears the mental clutter before his day even begins. Gratitude journaling, ending the day with light. At 10:45 p.m. after he's brushed his teeth and turned off the screens, Jacob pulls out a worn-out notebook. He writes down 3 things he's grateful for. Some days it's deep, other times it's just good coffee or sunshine on my walk. Why? Because gratitude doesn't just feel good, it rewires your brain to notice the good. It reduces stress hormones, boosts serotonin, and even improves sleep quality. More importantly, it trains his brain to scan for wins, not problems. Over time, this changes Jacob's internal language, from what's missing to what's working. And when the brain learns to celebrate progress, even small wins fuel enormous growth. Napping. Power nap, powered brain. Sometime between 1 and 2 p.m., when his focus begins to waver, Jacob doesn't push through like most people. He sets a 20-minute timer, lies on the couch, and closes his eyes. No alarms, no distractions. He's not lazy, he's recharging his brain. Naps, when done right, don't ruin your sleep. They enhance it. They improve memory consolidation, increase alertness, and even boost emotional regulation. It's like giving your brain a quick pit stop before racing into the second half of the day. Jacob wakes up sharper, calmer, and more ready than before, because sometimes the smartest thing you can do is rest. Social interaction, brain chemistry through connection. Every day, no matter how busy he is, Jacob makes space for one real human interaction. Not texting, not voice memos, actual face-to-face connection. Sometimes it's a quick coffee with a friend, sometimes a walk and talk with a coworker. No agenda, just presence. Why? Because oxytocin, released during real conversation and social bonding, is like emotional WD-40 for the brain. It reduces anxiety, strengthens memory, and improves verbal processing. But more than that, it keeps Jacob human. In a world of screens and speed, connection is the glue that keeps his inner world from unraveling. Sunlight exposure, lighting up the brain naturally. Every morning, rain or shine, Jacob steps outside within 30 minutes of waking up. Not to check the weather, not to get to work, just to stand in the sun. Why? Because natural sunlight in the morning signals to his brain, it's daytime, let's go. It boosts serotonin, anchors his circadian rhythm, and helps his body produce melatonin later that night, so his sleep is deeper, cleaner, and more effective. It's nature's alarm clock, mood booster, and brain charger, all in one. Even 5 minutes outside can be enough. Jacob just lets the light hit his face, breathes deeply, and gives his brain what it craves: rhythm and light. That's it. If you already do any of these habits, or know others that boosts your brain power, drop them in the comments. And if you found this helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.